7 years ago, I was over $100,000 in debt from school and car loans. We were also paying for an extremely expensive apartment in the middle of Santa Monica. And I just had the plan to essentially work until traditional retirement age, just like my parents did.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's actually a good life.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a styling loft, we had awesomely cool cars, and we were taking luxury vacations. So it wasn't a bad life.
Mhm. But then everything changed. We took a trip to hike around the Tour de Mont Blanc, and that experience was just insane. Getting to explore one of the most beautiful places in the entire world, meeting incredible, just like minded people, and doing all of that while adventuring at our own pace every single day. We both just got back and turned to each other and said, "Is there any way that we can do this full time?"
And at that point, the answer was absolutely not.
No way. But then Adam started reading and researching and essentially discovered this group of people known as the FIRE movement, Financial Independence Retire Early. These people were basically slashing their expenses, saving more than half their income, and retiring in their 30s and 40s so they could just travel the world and do whatever they wanted full time.
It honestly sounded too good to be true.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of probably BS and they just had inherited a bunch of money or something. But when I started looking at the actual numbers that people were posting, I was like, wait a minute, this is exactly like us.
Mhm.
We both make these very high incomes because of where we live, and we have these outrageous expenses. What if we just cut almost all of the expenses and invested all of this money? We could actually do this. So we started.
Well, you did. It took me a little bit more time to come around to the idea of just completely stopping my spending patterns on everything that I was used to spending on. But it didn't take too long before I got completely on board.
So once Elise was on board, we sat down and figured out a plan for how we were going to retire fully in less than 10 years. The basic premises are very simple: spend less, earn more, invest the entire difference. And we had a really good place to start, which was with our extremely excessive spending. We began by moving out of our luxury apartment and into a not quite as nice rent controlled apartment, but it's pretty lovely. And it saved us $18,000 a year.
Mhm. The second area we had to cut expenses was on our food bills. We were spending exorbitant amounts eating out for lunches, dinners, simply by just eating in more and paying attention to sales at the grocery store. We slashed 15,000 a year from our food bills. Kind of embarrassing, but hey, got the job done.
I wish we could say that we took care of the luxury car problem immediately. That is not the case. It was really, really hard for me. I grew up in a car culture. I love that I was driving these
Yeah.
super cool cars. So it wasn't until COVID hit in 2020 and we didn't have to commute into work. We were able to work from home a lot more, that we said, okay, this is ridiculous. Let's get rid of these cars. And we dumped both of the luxury gas guzzlers and replaced them with a very sensible economy car that gets 40 miles to the gallon. And that has saved us $14,000 a year in gas, insurance, and maintenance costs.
Gotta love a good Kia Forte, right?
I love it.
Adding up just those three cuts, we were able to save $47,000 a year just off the bat. Then we also cut crazy things like our really expensive gym membership, fancy clothes, and even cable television to the point where we were able to save $60,000 per year.
And let me just say, we still go to a gym.
Yeah,
It's a perfectly nice gym. It's just not the super ultra fancy gym.
it was so unnecessary.
You know what I mean? It's not like we're walking around in garbage bags. We still
Mhm.
have clothes.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't a big loss just
Mhm.
to make those extra cuts.
Right.
Netflix and Amazon Prime are just fine for TV. We did not need cable.
Now, the second step was finding ways to add to our income. So, with this, we got kind of creative. I took on some side gigs, writing music for a local lyricist. I was working for a company for a while where I was actually editing papers that were being submitted to academic journals. And I took on a bunch of weekend overtime clinics at work. My favorite side gig that we did was actually doing some modeling for ASICS.
That was great.
Yeah.
Not only did they pay really well, but they gave us so much free stuff.
Yeah.
That really cut our clothes budget because I got like 7 pairs of shoes,
Right?
so much gear that I still wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a win-win situation
Yeah,
with
that's
ASICs.
the best.
I also took on a lot of extra work, especially using my writing skills to help people do their college and grad school essays.
Mhm.
Not the funnest job in the world, honestly, but it pays really well and definitely gave us a lot more money to invest.
Mhm. So when you add up everything that we were saving from our budget cuts on top of everything extra that we were earning every year, that gave us $100,000 extra per year in our bank account. Now, that doesn't really mean anything unless you figure out how to invest that properly. And here is where I got to give Adam credit because he researched the heck out of what the best investment strategy would be to get us to retirement as quickly as possible.
So, the most important thing about our investment strategy is that we are 100% in the stock market. No low interest savings accounts, no low interest bonds. We really trust that the stock market will rise over time and that over time it will give us superior returns. So far, that has been the case. A lot of people suggest just investing in a total market index fund like Vanguard's VTI. And a lot of our money is in that. We also have some money in SCHD, which is a Schwab high dividend index fund. And so I would say about 80% of my personal funds are in those kind of index funds.
Mhm. And for people like me, where investing is just a whole new world and can feel kind of overwhelming, investing in index funds is great. It's simple, it's straightforward. Every month, I just plop my money straight into the index fund and just let it sit and grow.
And that's a great way to go for a lot of
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
However, we would not be nearly as close to retirement as we are if I hadn't also invested in some more speculative stocks where I really felt strongly and good about the prospects for that company. And the returns from those have been about 40% of my overall return. So we'd still be doing very well if we just had left everything in a stock market index fund. But those speculative stocks have done particularly well. And that's something that in future episodes, I want to talk about and explain how and why I do that kind of investing with just about 10% of my investable income. But it's been a 10% that's been very valuable to us.
So that's essentially our philosophy. Just ruthlessly cut your spending, find any way you can to add extra income every year, and then aggressively invest the difference in the stock market. Following that strategy is what has allowed Adam to basically be able to retire any day now if he wanted.
Yes.
And it's what got me from $100,000 in debt to essentially being able to retire 10 years from when I started this strategy.
So, in future episodes, we're going to dive more specifically into our exact numbers and exactly what we invest in, why we invest in it, and also deal with topics like financial minimalism, because I have to say that spending less money has actually made us happier rather than less happy. I know that probably sounds crazy to a lot of you guys. It sounded crazy to us back then,
Yeah.
but it really, really has. Financial minimalism is an incredible thing to embrace, just realizing what you need and what you don't need. And oh my gosh, you just end up with so much more money when you do things that way.
So, if any of this sounds exciting to you, please subscribe, join us for the R squared journey ahead.
Can't wait to take this journey with you guys.